We are now getting more stunning new audio obtained by the New York Times where House Minority Speaker Kevin McCarthy slams former President Trump for his role in the Capitol and the attack on the Capitol on January 6th. Let's listen.
But let me be very clear to all of you, and I've been very clear to the president. He bears responsibilities for his words and actions. No ifs, ands, or buts. I asked him personally today, does he hold responsibility for what happened? Does he feel bad about what happened? He told me he does have some responsibility for what happened. And he needs to acknowledge that.
Now, just to be clear, that's McCarthy saying the former president acknowledged he bore responsibility for what happened that day. That audio came on January 11th. I'm now joined by the reporters who uncovered this story, New York Times national political correspondents Alex Burns and Jonathan Martin. The January 6th investigation has been through interviews now and subpoenas to learn about the president's state of mind. Jonathan, you guys come with the tapes, with the audios. Let's start with you first. How significant is this acknowledgement for that investigation in sorting out exactly what Trump's role was?
Well, first of all, your viewers should know we've gone inside the highest levels of American politics, and this book uncovers a number of conversations that are highly revealing about the mindset of the Republican Party's leaders in the days after January 6th. And this tape captures Kevin McCarthy insisting to his colleagues, his flock, if you will, that President Trump took responsibility for January 6th, something that President Trump, of course, did not do at the time, and to this day emphatically rejects bearing any responsibility. But McCarthy, feeling the heat, is telling his colleagues, yes, President Trump, somebody who is not known for saying he's sorry, by the way, did in fact, to me, take responsibility. I think that's going to be news to President Trump, wherever he is today.
Yeah, Alex, because we have heard Kevin McCarthy say publicly, right, in Congress the night of January 6th that the president bears some responsibility. What we haven't heard is him say that the president agreed that he bears responsibility. What we know subsequently happened was that he flew down to Mar-a-Lago and took that infamous picture there, standing next to President Trump at the time. How significant will it be for the January 6th investigation now that we have him saying what the president told him?
Well, Bianna, we know for sure that there are members of the January 6th committee who are quite interested in the contents of this book, and for the exact reason that you described here. They're looking for insight into the president's frame of mind before, during, and after the January 6th attack on the Capitol. And what you heard in that tape, and what you will hear more of, is Kevin McCarthy characterizing the way Trump behaved towards him and the way Trump talked about the attack immediately after it happened. I'd be shocked if President Trump were to hear that tape and say, yeah, that sounds like me, and that sounds like the way I saw the January 6th attack. We'll have to wait and see whether he addresses it himself. But there is no ambiguity in what Kevin McCarthy told the hundreds of members of the House Republican Conference. He said that he confronted President Trump in private, told him that he bore responsibility, and President Trump agreed with him. And that, by the way, is something that scores and scores of House Republicans heard Kevin McCarthy say. So every time you hear one of those lawmakers bobbing and weaving about whether President Trump has any responsibility, any culpability for the violent attack on the seat of American government, they have previously heard Kevin McCarthy say that Donald Trump acknowledged just that.
And if I could just add real fast, what this tape illustrates, and what's so much more in the book, This Will Not Pass, which, by the way, is out May 3rd, captures, Bianna, is the gulf between the leadership wing of the Republican Party in Congress and the rank and file in the party. The leadership wing of the Republican Party is desperate to get rid of President Trump. They don't want him to run again in 2024. They were hoping January 6th, frankly, would finish him off politically. That's why there was talk about getting him to resign, which we aired yesterday, talk about the 25th Amendment. They want to get rid of this figure that their party loves. And in private, they're very candid about what can we do? How can we solve this problem? The bulk of the country does not like him, but our party does. And you hear this in real time after January 6th, and they're doing anything they can to try to rid themselves of President Trump. But here we are in April of 2022. He is still the dominant figure in the GOP, and he could be the nominee again in 24. And these tapes capture what his lieutenants on Capitol Hill really think about him.
So, Jonathan, let's just display this all out for viewers at home, because as you mentioned, you released another audio clip last night where you heard Kevin McCarthy and Liz Cheney, as you said, discussing and possibly invoking the 25th Amendment, and McCarthy saying that he was planning to speak with President Trump about him stepping down, even though he said that the possibility of that would likely be slim. Now we have this new audio where he says that not only does he believe the president was culpable, but the president himself admitted it. But wait, viewers at home, there is a third piece of audio that you are releasing right now. Let's play it and we'll talk about it right after.
All right, I know this is not fun. I know this is not great. I know this is very tough. But what I want to do, especially through here, is I don't want to rush things. I want everybody to have all the information needed. I've had it with this guy. What he did is unacceptable. Nobody can defend that, and nobody should defend it.
Okay, so Alex, let's unpack that, because I believe we have heard people say, Lindsey Graham, I remember the night of January 6th, said, I've had it, I'm done, I'm off this train. How significant is it to hear those words from Kevin McCarthy, though?
Well, I think it's significant for a couple of reasons, Bianna. One is what Jonathan just alluded to, the enormous gulf between what Republicans will say about Trump in public and to his face, and what they think of him and what they say about him in private, or in what they think is private. That comment from Kevin McCarthy is also significant because it's one of the things that he denied, saying yesterday that we reported in print that he said, I've had it with this guy. He said that reporting was totally false. Your viewers just heard Kevin McCarthy say it in his own voice. So again, that speaks to Kevin McCarthy's general credibility on this subject, and draw your own conclusions about other subjects. I think the two pieces of audio that you have just unveiled on this network really also speak to the complicated internal politics of the Republican Party and why Kevin McCarthy ultimately capitulates to Donald Trump. That piece of audio you just played from January 10th, where he says, I've had it with this guy, is addressing a very small number of Republican congressional leaders. And he is much blunter, much harsher in talking about Donald Trump than the first piece of audio you played from January 11th, the very next day, when he's addressing the whole Republican conference. And he is speaking disapprovingly of Donald Trump, but you don't hear the same tone of dismissiveness and hostility. He certainly doesn't say, I've had it with this guy, when he's speaking to the whole class.
And Bianna, if I could, this tape and the more tapes to come is important because for 7 years now, nearly 7 years now, there's been a recurring theme. There's been a sort of constant conversation in Washington, which is if you only heard what the Republicans say in private about President Trump, it was almost kind of a shorthand of, well, privately, they acknowledge he's wildly unfit for the job and have little regard for him. What we have done in this book, which you can buy online right now and comes to you May 3rd, is reveal what they actually do say in private about President Trump. We're not hinting about it. We're not alluding to it. We're not referring sort of obliquely. We're talking directly, reporting directly what they're saying about President Trump, how they actually feel about the leader of their party, the contempt they had for him and still have for him to this day.
Listen, both of you, a case study in just making sure that you don't go out there and publicly say something that can be proven false within just a matter of hours because of tapes. And also a case study in getting people to buy a book knowing that there's more audio, more revelations to be heard.
Stay tuned.
Alex Burns, stay tuned. Alex Burns, Jonathan Martin, thank you for bringing us this news. We appreciate it.